You don't need a stage. You need a chair and the guts to tell the truth. I don't have all the answers. I'm still sorting out my own. But I've learned that when we name something, we drag it into the light, and it doesn't own us the same way anymore. This is for anyone else who's tired of bluffing and just wants to name what's real while we build. Most weeks it's me, sometimes a guest. Always becoming, always honest. This is no stage, just a chair. So my oldest son went to college this year. He's a freshman. He is smart. He's kind. He's caring. He is empathetic. He's just a good human being. I really like him. Big fan of him. Big fan of both my kids, but I'm just going to talk about my oldest for a second because he's off at college. And one of the things that I didn't really think about in him going off to college is that I went from seeing him every day for almost his entire life. But then on August 18th, I dropped him off at school, which school is only about 40 minutes away from our house. So it's not even that far. And we dropped him off. And then for the next 7 weeks, I saw him a grand total of 5 minutes. And that 5 minutes was literally him walking through the front door saying, "Hey, Dad, I got to grab some shirts. I've only got 5 minutes." Walked into his closet, grabbed a bunch of shirts, grabbed a couple pairs of jeans, grabbed some things, and then turned around and went right back. It's hard to get used to that. It's hard to get used to that because I'm used to seeing him every day. I'm used to having conversations with him. I'm used to those interactions and those connections. And he's off at school. And the truth is, he's doing everything that you would hope for. He's going to class. He's making friends. He's in his dorm. He's getting his meals. He's doing all of his things. He's found a new crew of guys to hang out with. He is getting to know people. He is riding his bike to class. He is working at his job. He's actually showing up for class, for crying out loud. He shows up. He's doing his homework. He's making good grades. He's doing everything right. And Dad is still this ball of anxiety and missing him. And in the middle of all of that, I have to remind myself to keep my mouth shut. Because what I want isn't what's best for him. It's what's best for me. What's best for me is making sure that he still needs me, that he still knows that I care about him, that I want to make sure that all these things are happening. But the reality is what he needs is to be 19 years old and in college. He needs to make friendships. Good friends of mine who have kids that have gone off to college said that most of the time they don't even realize that they miss home until somewhere around fall break. And around fall break, they will have their first little bout of homesick. And in that moment, just be a safe place to land. So I've tried to be careful not to text him all the time, not to reach out, and not to play this game of, "Hey, why don't you come home this weekend? Hey, why don't you come home this weekend?" No, he's thriving. No matter what, I will always be here. No matter what, he will always be my son. No matter what, all of those things are still true. I just have to have a little bit of confidence that he's finding his way as a 19-year-old. I have to have confidence in that, and I have to look out for the thing that is best for him, not what I selfishly want. But let's be real. It's not easy. It's pretty difficult because it pushes on every insecure gap inside of me. But I have to push that away and do the things that are in his best interest, that are hopefully for the best for him, and still being a good landing place. And it highlights this little secret, this little thought, this little idea. Have you ever been in those moments where everything's going right, but you still feel a little bit off? Or maybe everything's not going exactly according to plan, but there's this thing inside of you that goes, this is actually really good. There's like this disconnect between what's happening and how you're feeling. And years ago I landed on this idea of that there are kind of two sides to us. And those two sides are summed up in this. There's truth and there's honesty. And sometimes they align, but sometimes they don't. And I think that this thread even runs back through the last few episodes. Because truth is true and it's always true. Truth is always true. It's not subjective, it is objective. It is objectively, measurably true. My son is thriving right now. He's making friends. He's going to class. He's working his job. He's doing all of the things that you would hope for as your freshman son in college. He's doing all those things, actively doing them, measurably doing them. That's true. The other side of me, the honest side of me, says, I really miss him. I really want more time with him. I really want these things. And that's honest. Let's not confuse the two. Honesty and truth are not the same thing. And you might think that I'm splitting hairs, and maybe I am, but this is how I categorize these things. Honesty and truth aren't necessarily the same thing. Because honesty is dependent on our feelings. There are moments that we wake up in the morning and it just feels like a bad day. Was there anything objectively bad about the day? No, we just feel off. Come on, let's be real. We all have those mornings. We all have the mornings where we wake up and we're grumpy. The mornings that we wake up and we just don't quite feel right. Maybe it's because we got a flu bug coming on. Maybe it's because we slept badly. Maybe it's because we stayed up too late. Maybe it's because of any of a million reasons, but it's not rooted in truth. It's a feeling that we have. When we make decisions based on feelings that we have, I make bad decisions. But if I can wait long enough for truth and honesty to line up, I make better decisions. Does that make sense? When I wait for truth and honesty to line up, because truth is always true. Honesty is fleeting. Honesty is predicated on something inside of me that I cannot quite possibly define yet. But if I can wait long enough for them to line up, can I wait long enough for them to line up? Because what I want, what I need, and what helps me to make good decisions is whenever truth and honesty stop arguing. That's where that disconnect is. That's where that unsettled moment is. That's where those things are, is that truth and honesty are arguing. We can have success and still feel no peace. We can have peace in the midst of chaos. And I mean that. Like, we can have peace inside, internal, confidence, peace inside of us in the midst of hard times, in the midst of dark times, in the midst of chaos. We can still have that peace. But how do we have the confidence and the maturity to wait for truth and honesty to line up? Does that make sense? Because sometimes that thing that our honesty is looking for, it doesn't mean that honesty isn't important. It's very important. It's incredibly important. Because a lot of times that honesty is the breadcrumbs to the things that make us feel whole. So when we look at our situations, when we look at the decisions that we have in our life, can we look at those decisions, whether it's business, whether it's family, whether it's friendships, whether it's anything else? Can we look at them and go, does truth and honesty line up yet? I have a good friend, Eric. Eric and I don't get to talk a whole lot. He lives about 4 hours away from me. He stays really busy. He travels all over the world, but he's also got a few companies. Like, he's a busy person. Eric and I have been friends long enough that there's probably not anything he could do that would surprise me. I know who it is. I know who he is. Even in the midst of, we probably see each other once a year. We talk 3 or 4 times a year. We might trade text messages every now and then, but who he is pretty clear for me. And I was in Fort Worth for work a few weeks ago, and as I was driving back, I was driving right by. He lives in Denton, Texas. When I was driving by, I just texted him and said, "Hey, last minute, didn't know that I was going to be available. You want to sit down and have lunch?" He texts back almost immediately, "Absolutely, let's have lunch." So he sat down, we had lunch, and we had just this great time of just enjoying each other's presence. And there's like this quiet confidence in that friendship that we have. Because we all have this friend. At least I have this friend. And maybe sometimes I am this friend. You know, those people that are like, "Hey, we don't hang out anymore. Hey, we don't do this anymore." And there's like this pull and this need from them. That's exhausting. Let's be real. That's exhausting. You know what's not exhausting? "Hey, I'd really love to see you." Yes, let's do that. It comes from a different place because there's truth. "Hey, this is my friend." And there's honesty. "I'd really love to see you." There's not any manipulation. There's not any forcing. And in that, there's this tremendous peace. And to go all the way back to my son, how do I speak to him and be a dad to him from that place of saying, because on that same trip, whenever I was driving back from Fort Worth, I was driving by Norman, Oklahoma. He goes to the University of Oklahoma. And I texted him, said, "Want to have dinner?" Of course, he texted back and said, "Sure, let's have dinner." We sat down, we had dinner, we caught up. And if he'd said no, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But there's this subtle shift that happens because there wasn't demand, there wasn't requirement, there wasn't manipulation, there wasn't expectation. There was just, "I would love to have dinner with you." How we engage changes all these things, and it helps us to line up truth and honesty. Does that make sense? And there's another like little word picture analogy. I think in terms of analogies, so you're always going to have to listen to analogies for me. Years ago, I was in Montana. We were in Big Sky, and we stayed in this cabin in Big Sky with all the guys that I travel with. They took us there because And it was actually one of the shoot locations for this awful movie. There's this movie called A River Runs Through It. I made the mistake of watching it. If any of you like it, so be it. You're allowed to be wrong. It's terrible. It's really beautiful, but it's really terrible. But where we were is one of the shoot locations for that movie. And we walked out of the back of this cabin, and there was frontage on the Big Sky River. And the guy who brought us there also brought fly fishing rods. And they put us in waders. We waded out into the water. We fished. We probably fished for an hour and a half. I didn't catch anything. And it didn't really matter. I didn't care. It was the most peaceful, most amazing, most beautiful, most connected time that I'd had that summer. And one of the things that I really thought about is whenever you get out there in the water, as you walk, you stir up things. And as you walk and you're stirring up things, it kind of makes the water cloudy. And the only way to fix that cloudiness is stillness. Heck, this is the same topic from the last episode, for crying out loud. And I'm just going to say it out loud. Patience. Patience breeds clarity. Patience is the pathway to clarity. Patience is the protection of that. Because as I'm in that water, the only way for everything to settle in that water is for me to stand still. The only way for the water to clear is for me to stand still. The only way, the path, the best path, the healthy path to a good relationship with my son in this season is to wait and be patient as truth and honesty line up. So I got 4 things that I want to leave you with. When peace is missing, listen and don't rush to fix it. Peace isn't just stillness. It's clarity. Peace is what happens when truth and honesty finally stop arguing. And the truest success is when what's right finally feels right. I'll say that again. Peace and the truest success is when what's right finally feels right. Let's find a way. Let's take the time. Let's set the intention that truth and honesty can be in agreement. Because for me, that's where peace comes from. This is where I say it messy, before anyone would assume that it's been tidy all along. See you next week.